Back here today reviewing The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 2, entitled Chapter 10, The Passenger, being released on Disney Plus this past Friday. Right in the midst of all the election stuff going on, of course, as we talk now on Saturday, going up on Monday. This video will be. The election is now over, but this timing, the timing of the episode was perfect, and then it went on, in the midst of the election, great distraction from everything going on, though I would be a bit biased if I said it was the best episode of the season so far. Of course, we're only 2 episodes in. That first episode we discussed last week, Chris, was very, very good. This one, not so much, still solid. But before we go any further, the Doc, Chris Mueller, he's joining me here today on the show. We're talking Mandalorian Episode 2 of the second season. Chris, how you doing today?
Doing great.
You watched the episode as soon as it came out on Friday?
I mean, not like 2 a.m. in the morning, no, but I watched it at probably like 11:30 or noon, something like that. I actually almost forgot about it until I saw a tweet where somebody's like, it's Mandalorian Day. And I was like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Everything else going on, it's easy to get caught up in everything else and forget about like a little thing like a new episode of The Mandalorian.
Exactly. I didn't see a lot of people talking about the episode as soon as it was released as much as last week. I mean, of course, that's the season 2 premiere, but I think also part of that is because it's not that it was a bad episode because it wasn't newsworthy. I mean, not every episode's going to have the return of a former character that we haven't seen in over 30 years. There just wasn't a lot going on in this episode. It was still enjoyable, but definitely not as exciting or as many moving parts as the last week's episode.
No, and it did accomplish a couple things, but this is an episode I feel like a lot of people are going to call filler, and I understand that because there really was very little progression, if any, in the storyline. Basically, like, he gets another tip about where he might find Mandalorians, and he has a passenger this time.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even make it to where they're going by the end of the episode. So the whole episode is just like a little detour, essentially. But the one thing I did appreciate is having those X-Wings come in and kind of interact with them sort of gave us an idea of, like, the New Republic is starting to build power in this area after their victory at the end of Return of the Jedi. So it was kind of cool to see the X-Wings show up and flank him like, 2 F-16 fighter jets, and just that little chase scene in the clouds and stuff was fun, but the spider stuff really creeped a lot of people out.
Yeah. If you're not a big spider person, and listen, I hate spiders. So this episode didn't freak me out, but it was still a little weird to say. It reminded me of that scene from, have you seen all the Harry Potter movies, Chris?
Yeah, I think I've seen them all once through, and then maybe 1 or 2 of them I've seen more than that, but yeah, I think I know which scene you're talking about.
You know what I mean?
Probably.
When all the spiders come out and shit, that always scared me as a kid. Yeah. I don't know if it's the second. It's one of those early movies, I think, though.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what this reminded me of, and that's probably the biggest talking point from this entire episode was the giant-ass spider and all the little spiders that kind of came out chasing Mando and Baby Yoda and the Frog Lady, who I don't think got a name on this episode, right? We just kind of referred to her as the Frog Person, the Frog Lady or whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember if Amy Sedaris' character in the beginning actually says her name.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, that was weird to me, but then I actually watched it a second time this morning so we could talk about this, and something clicked to me. In season 1, we see Baby Yoda, or the child, whatever you want to call him, essentially pick up and eat a little frog.
Really?
And then in this, remember when he's on Queel's little ranch thing, and he's like, "Hey, drop that," and you just see him suck the frog legs down into his mouth.
Oh, you just see that the bottom half of the frog. Yes, I do remember that. Was that earlier on in the season? At what point in the season was that? Do you remember?
It was shortly after he first got him, and then later, when Mandalorian is with Cara Dune at that one little settlement that they defend, they show all the kids kind of laughing as Baby Yoda's chasing a frog around, clearly trying to eat it.
Oh,
and then
okay.
in this, he goes after the frog lady's eggs, and I'm like, wow, they really want us to know that he loves frog meat. It just seemed like a weird running thing for them to do, and I thought the frog lady alien, I don't know if she's from any other Star Wars stuff, but it seemed a little on the lazy side to me. They're like, let's just make a giant frog.
Yeah.
Star Wars is known for having these unique creatures like Jabba the Hutt and the Twi'leks and all these different things, and a frog lady, like
Yeah. It didn't seem
he
like it was from anything.
and he even said at one point, like, I don't speak frog, like, so you're just straight up referring to her as a frog now,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, is that a universal term? That's an Earth thing, like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they are speaking English too, and I was wondering while watching this
Yeah.
episode, you know what I mean? Like, where does that come from? But I guess that's like an old age Star Wars question.
Yeah, there was some sci-fi franchise. I don't know if it was one of the Star Wars novels, but like they implied that all life in the universe came from a specific asteroid that just bounced from planet to planet, leaving debris that created life. And that's why there's universal languages across, because we all came from the same initial stuff. But like,
Okay.
I don't remember what franchise it was that did that. It was just kind of a way to explain why some aliens speak English and some don't.
Yeah. Well, that would make sense. I mean, again, that's not really an issue with this show. That's kind of just Star Wars on the whole. But that would make sense if that was the reasoning they used.
Yeah, but I was at least happy to see Amy Sedaris' character speak the Frog Lady's language
I know.
back
I was
to her.
going to say, I know we talked about Amy Sedaris last week, and we talked about her when we were reviewing that first episode of the second season. And she was a highlight from the episode, as well as season one, just kind of on the whole, when we saw her in the first season. So I thought it was cool they brought her back so soon, because we saw her in the last episode. So I'm thinking, okay, we're either not going to see her again, or at least not see her for a little while. But she was back already in the second episode.
Yeah, and it really kind of felt like the first scene of this episode probably should have been the last scene of the last episode. Like him picking up the client and leaving should have been the end of the first episode, and then this one should have started with him and the Frog Lady already on their journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost wonder if maybe that was the original plan, and then they're like, no, let's split it up so we can have Amy in 2 episodes or something. But she's also playing cards against like a giant
A
ant.
spider or something, yeah.
That was really kind of creepy, but
Or an ant. No, I'm not spider. I'm sorry. You're right. Ant. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I'm thinking of the other creature from later on, yeah.
there's a couple aliens in this episode where I'm like, that's just stuff from Earth made big. Come on. Like, give me something better.
What were you going to say?
Just give me something better than that. Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to do an ant creature, make it an ant creature that has like 2 giant horns, like a rhino or something sticking out of its head, or just add something so it's not just clearly a big thing, because it looked like one of the ants
From Ant-Man and the Wasp.
well, I was actually thinking, because it looked like a practical thing,
Mm-hmm.
like it wasn't digital, so it reminded me of the ants from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, God. Yes, I do remember that. Now we just need Rick Moranis in the next episode and we're set.
Oh God, it would be amazing if they brought him to Star Wars. Because did you ever see Spaceballs?
Yeah, I've seen Spaceballs before. Yeah, he was great in that movie.
Like, it would be amazing
Oh,
if
I
the
didn't think
guy
about that.
who
Yeah.
plays the fake Darth Vader ends up in the real Star Wars universe. Like, that would be amazing. I think that would make a lot of people happy.
I mean, Rick Moranis in anything at this point would be amazing, but that would be the greatest comeback of all time. Of everything that he's about to... I mean, is he set on to appear in something like do the voice for a character or something like that, or no?
Well, I think it's still planned. Disney Plus is doing like a TV series, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids follow-up, where
That's
Josh
what it is.
Gad
Yeah.
is playing his son, and he's like basically coming out of retirement for that. Although I think he said he's never really been formally retired. He just didn't take any projects because he didn't really care.
Yeah.
And apparently this one is something that he wanted to do, and I'm just glad to have him back. And I like that he did do that one commercial with
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, I saw that. That was great. And he was like,
That
"Oh,
was really fun.
we just have him here to have Rick Moranis on the commercial." that was the only purpose he served. It was great.
And Ryan's just sitting there staring at him, smiling like a
yeah.
boy.
Yeah, that was classic. No, I mean it's not too far fetched. I mean, we had Bill Burr in an episode last season. They have a lot of random cameos. I don't know how much of a role Sasha Banks is going to play in the show. Probably, I would assume, pretty significant if they showed her in the trailer for the entire season. And they kind of
at least for an episode. She'll probably be around the whole episode that she's in,
Okay.
but whether she's in multiples, I couldn't tell you. But I just hope that whatever they do with her, I hope it's not the character that she's rumored to be playing, which is one of the ones from Rebels,
Okay.
because I feel like I just don't feel like she would be the right casting for it based on what they did with her in the cartoon. And also, apparently, these spider creatures were first in that show, that Rebels cartoon, which somebody said on Twitter. I didn't even know that.
I heard that. I heard that they were different. They were similar, but not the exact same. From what I had
I guess they
seen,
were creepier in this.
yeah, maybe they were. So I think they were inspired from this type of spider that was supposed to be in Dagobah in episode 5, I believe. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but they weren't in Dagobah, but I think they were supposed to be originally before it was scrapped or whatever, because it was in the artwork for the movie. The Rebels ones might be the exact same thing. I just thought they were slightly similar, but not the exact same type of spider. But either way, I mean, a spider is a spider, so it's pretty similar no matter what.
Yeah, it is kind of funny that like Baby Yoda was the one who sort of caused the trouble this episode.
I know. Well, that was another thing too. I think about this episode, how we talked about last time that Baby Yoda wasn't really a focal point at all in that first episode, which was perfectly fine and it made complete sense. And you also had Timothy Oliphant kind of for Mando to bounce off of his character, Cobb. I forgot what his last name was at this point, but Cobb something. And you don't really have that this episode. You have Amy Sedaris' character. What's her name? Peli something. Peli Moto, I believe. You have her character in the beginning, but that's about it, because you have the frog lady, but she doesn't speak English. You have Baby Yoda. So this one was kind of more focused around Baby Yoda and the havoc that he causes and how they have to kind of get out of the situation that they find themselves in. So it didn't really feel like there was a lot to this episode, which is probably why it worked as I think it was a 25-minute episode. It was definitely on the shorter side.
Yeah, it was certainly shorter than last week's, which I wasn't surprised by because it sort of fell in line with most of the season 1 episode lengths.
Yep.
But I did like that at the end of the day, the Mandalorian wasn't the one who saved the day. Those 2 X-Wing pilots showed up and just wrecked all those spiders. And
Mm-hmm.
then basically were like, listen, we probably should arrest you, but you've also done some good stuff, so we're just going to give you a pass. Like,
Yeah.
but they didn't help him fix his ship, so I feel like them floating through space all broken, like that's probably going to be part of what the next episode is like maybe them encountering even more ship trouble, or I don't know, maybe by the next episode they'll just be on whatever planet he's taking the frog lady to.
Yeah, I was going to say this episode, after watching it in its entirety, felt like part one of a two-part episode, which is why on its own it just felt uneventful. I mean, I'm not sure what the next episode is going to entail, but obviously I would assume we're going to get the conclusion of the Frog Lady story, and she's not going to be a recurring character throughout the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he's supposed to get whatever information the husband has, I think, right?
Yeah, so when I heard that part was funny too. So then the Frog Lady goes on the ship, and then Mando goes to Moto, Amy Sedaris' character. He goes, "So how do you know the husband?" She goes, "How am I supposed to know? I just met her like 10 minutes ago." And he goes, "I thought you said you knew her." And then she said, "Oh, I just have a great judge of character," or something like that. I thought
Yeah.
that was funny too. But yeah, it's because the husband apparently has information about what he wants to know. That just sound, or he had seen, I guess, a Mandalorian on the planet that she's going to, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. That just sounds like to me they're just saying that so she'll get on the ship. I assume they'll get there and there won't be a Mandalorian there, but maybe there will be. I'm not exactly sure.
I mean, at some point he's going to have to find one because that's not even really the main journey of the thing. He's trying to really find a Mandalorian because he thinks the Mandalorians will tell him how to find either a Jedi or maybe somebody from Yoda's race.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm not sure why he thinks a different Mandalorian would know that more than him. Like,
Yeah.
why would that guy have information you don't? But maybe they'll explain that. I don't know. But yeah, I'm really hoping that the next one sort of kicks things into high gear a little bit because it's not going to be. I don't think the season is slated to be any longer than the first season. So
Mm-hmm.
if they're going to tell a good story, then we kind of needed to start picking up because right now, really nothing new has happened. Like, he's gone on a couple little adventures, but he's made almost no real progress versus where he was at the beginning of the season.
Exactly, and maybe this is just because I just watched the show and I'm only 4 episodes in. So I know I tweeted you this yesterday, but I just started watching that Upload show you recommended to me a while ago, the one on Amazon Prime,
Yes.
and I really enjoy it so far. But another big part of why I like it is because every episode ends with a new cliffhanger, and it kind of just puts the puzzle pieces in place or whatever for what the ultimate mystery is going to be and how he died and whatever, and if the girlfriend's behind it. Not to spoil anything for people that haven't seen it, but that's what I like about the show. Every episode ends with a new piece of information that you didn't already know. It feels like with this episode, the first one I thought was great. They had the Boba Fett reveal. I didn't expect him to be in this episode, nor should he have been. They can always bring him back later on. We didn't really get anything at all in the way of new information aside from this new mini adventure that currently doesn't really mean anything until he gets to the end of it. So yeah, it was weird. So again, it's only episode 2, not to shit on the show, obviously. Would you classify this as a filler episode? Because I probably would.
I mean, unless something in this episode comes into play later on that we don't see now,
Mm-hmm.
it is kind of filler. But every TV show has episodes that people think the show could do without. And for all we know, there was something in this episode super important that we just don't understand as important yet. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I just liked that we got to see a little bit of the X-Wings in the New Republic, and like the fact that he's sort of building a good reputation for himself is starting to like travel now.
Yeah.
So at least it accomplished the goal of telling us that, he's not just some anonymous bounty hunter anymore. Like, people are starting to take notice of this Mandalorian in the shiny armor who's doing all this crazy shit, like taking out crate dragons and taking down TIE fighters with a jetpack.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, the jetpack scene at the beginning of this, we didn't even talk about that.
Well, that was another thing I wanted to mention to you, too. So, with the whole jetpack scene and the ambush on Mando and Baby Yoda, the people that are trying to ambush him, I don't know who they are. Maybe you can shine some light on that. But they saw Boba Fett's armor, and they didn't do anything about it. Like, I don't know if that really matters or not.
That makes me, and he didn't even care about Baby Yoda. He just wanted the jetpack and was going to run away with it. So it makes me think that they were just supposed to be criminals.
Yeah.
They were just trying to hijack it. But just the fact that he like gives him the jetpack, lets him run away a little, and then turns it on, and the dude goes flying in the air. Then he falls down, and then his jetpack just comes down gently, and Yoda looks at him and he just shrugs. Like, that scene probably was my favorite scene in the movie or in the show of that episode. Everything after that was just like, okay, let's see something cool. Show me the Darksaber again or something.
Yeah. When do you think I'm not disappointed that we haven't seen any follow-up on the Darksaber. I mean, if this was, for example, an episode of Raw and we had this big reveal, I would hope that by the next couple of episodes they would offer some sort of follow-up on it. But I have faith in the people that write the show, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, that they'll get to it soon enough. I mean, we are going to be in episode 3 next week. Do you think we'll probably start to see something with the Darksaber? Boba Fett can wait a little longer, but with the Darksaber, that was the big reveal at the end of season 1, and we have heard no mention of that so far. So do you think we get that in episode 3 or episode 3 or 4 at all?
I mean, even if he doesn't run across Moff Gideon again, I feel like they have to at least show what the bad guys are up to.
Yep.
Because that's one of the things that I think made Star Wars so good in the beginning, was that it spent a lot of time with the bad guys, and it wasn't just a story following the heroes against the evil government. It was a story about both sides of the conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And the show sort of needs to show us what's going on with the people who are looking for this baby still.
Yeah, so it's not random when they just resurface like 5 episodes from now.
Yeah, like it can't be just adventure of the week. If you're going to keep putting in things like Baby Yoda and the Darksaber and Boba Fett, you have to start paying them off. And I'm fine with individual adventures once in a while, but like I do feel like the series should feel cohesive across the season.
No, it definitely should. I mean, they shouldn't just bring it back at the end just to tie up season 2. I completely agree on the villains thing, because that was one of the parts I also liked about the other movies. They also did that in Rogue One, actually, when they had that scene with, I forgot the main villain's name. He was in Ready Player One too. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I know.
You know who I'm talking about though? The main bad guy from Rogue One.
Yeah, I can't think of his Rogue One character name, but Ben
Yeah.
Mendelsohn is the actor.
Exactly. Yeah, and he was in Captain Marvel too. But
Yeah.
yeah, so they had that scene with him and Darth Vader, and it was a fucking great scene. Not the end of the movie with Darth Vader. That was something different. I'm talking about there was a scene earlier than that where he choked someone out, and it was great. And it had nothing to do with any of the Rogue One main characters. It was just this. They were showing the villain side of things. That's what they need more of in the show. I completely agree. It's not they absolutely need to, but it would be a nice touch just so we kind of get an update on where they are. Are they looking for Mando? Stuff like that. So hopefully in due time we get to see that.
Yeah, like I don't need to see what the entire evil bad guy army is doing. It's
Yeah.
like just show me Moff Gideon and his little machinations, or at least somebody related to him. Like I think Werner Herzog's character from the first season is still alive, isn't he?
Who's that?
He's the guy who originally hires him to go get the baby.
Oh, right. I believe so. I don't think they showed him dying. Unless it was in the season 1 finale. That might be it, but I don't think so otherwise.
Yeah, but like I think the genetics doctor was still alive too, because I remember Mandalorian like leaving him alone and taking the baby.
Yes.
And then he killed a bunch of like the stormtroopers, but um and I still want to know, like, that doctor legitimately seemed like he wanted to help the baby at one point.
Mhm.
I'm like, and so that made me kind of curious, like, okay, so is he working from the inside, or does the Mandalorian just not understand why they need the baby? Like, and they haven't really paid any of that off either. So there is a lot of stuff they need to address, and it feels like some of it might not get completely resolved this season.
Mhm. Well, I mean,
Some of it might.
I
So.
hope they do it this season with some of that stuff, just because it's from season 1. So I don't know if I would wait beyond season 2 to blow some of that stuff off, because by season 3 people might just forget about it.
Yeah, and you know, with this show being kind of a short season, it means we have like, 10, 11 months between seasons.
Yep.
So people get impatient. It's kind of the same thing with that show Archer.
Yeah, I know
That
Archer. I haven't seen it, but I know what Archer is. Yeah.
I mean, it's 11 to 13 episodes typically every year, but sometimes they'll like pack 2 at a weekend, so you end up with 10 months in between seasons of that show, and sometimes people lose interest in a show for that long. Star Wars is kind of special, so I doubt that'll happen, but
Yeah.
still, it would be nice to just see more storyline development next week. I don't want it to be just another like, okay, you're going to send me to this place now. Like,
Yeah. Which
yeah,
is fine.
somebody has to know where a Mandalorian is.
Yeah, they can't follow the same formula throughout the entire season. I don't think they will. They didn't do that for all of season 1, so I would hope that this season won't be much different. Like I said, I'm hoping this episode was just the setup for whatever we're going to see the next episode. They blow off the Frog Lady stuff, and then they can kind of move on from there to more important matters. But yeah, you're right with the whole show thing. It's like it only comes out once a year, and there's only 8 episodes a season. This is episode 10 of all the episodes they've had so far. I think it ends not on Christmas, but the week before Christmas on December 18th. So they only have 6 episodes left, which sounds like a lot, but when they're only like 30 minutes long, it's really not a lot. So they're gonna have to start picking up the pace. And again, it's only 1 episode, so I'm perfectly fine with it for episode 2. But by 3 and 4, hopefully we're starting to see some more newsworthy stuff, where they start to tie up some stuff like that. I watch Rick and Morty, and they only come out with like 10 episodes every fucking 2 or 3 years, so it's kind of the same formula.
Yeah, Dan Harmon's a little weird like that, but yeah, it's good that they don't overbloat the seasons, because that's what happened with some of those Netflix shows. Like, people were like, well, it's 13 episodes long, but 3 of these episodes accomplish nothing. Like,
Yeah, and you could just go.
So-
you could have done with 10. Yeah.
yeah, if you're gonna have a lean season, you got to make each episode mean something. So I'm hoping next week's is a little bit better. Yeah, even though I like this episode, it's just not, it's one of the weaker of all the episodes, which is still a good episode, you know.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It was solid. I don't think it was bad by any means. Definitely a filler episode, but it depends on what happens next. Like you said, it kind of depends on what happens in the next episode and the episode after that. And if there is something in this episode that is of importance that we just don't know yet. But for people that watch the show, not solely for Baby Yoda, but if that's one of your favorite parts of the show, you might like this episode a little bit more just because Baby Yoda's all over it and is doing a lot of cute shit. So I thought he was a highlight. I like the opening scene as well. Totally agree with you on that. And not a big fan of the spiders, but I thought it was a nice touch anyway. It visually looked awesome. And I thought the X-Wing stuff was also pretty cool. So any immediate predictions, Chris, for what we might see in Episode 3, a.k.a. Chapter 11 or whatever it is?
I mean, I feel like in the next episode, he has to get some kind of solid evidence on where to find a Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
But I just really hope that we get something from the other side too, either an appearance by Moff Gideon or at least something to tell us what the people who want that baby are up to.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm hoping we're getting something a little bit more major in the next episode after kind of a cool down episode of sorts with episode 2. But yeah, this was still good. People could check it out on Disney Plus. Next one comes out on Friday, and we'll break it down right here next Monday on the channel as well. So, Chris, any final thoughts as we ride off into the sunset here?
No, just I'm hoping for better next week, but we'll see what happens.
I agree as well. There's some great content out there. This is definitely one of them. People could check out The Mandalorian. It's been a great show up to this point. And the episodes are short, too. That's actually one of the things I like about the show, is that I actually recommended the show to one of my brothers last week, and he's literally already watched all of Season 1 and is up to date, because there's only 10 episodes, and most of them are only 25 to 30 minutes. So you could realistically get through the show pretty quickly.
Very bingeable show.
Yeah. No, definitely. And that's actually one of the reasons why I'm watching Upload now, as you recommended to me, because there's only 10 episodes. So, yeah, there's 10 episodes, and most of them are 30 minutes, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking for it. Maybe at some point we'll talk about that, too, in more depth, because I really, really like, from what I've seen of that show so far. So, Chris, thanks as always. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, great.